If you've ever tried to learn English, you know the feeling. You start out with all this energy, you're excited, and then boom, you get stuck. Well, today we're going to lay out a completely new plan for learning English, one that can take you from that frustrating cycle to real, actual fluency.
Yeah, this quote from Kimura Academy, it just hits home, doesn't it? It's that moment when the grammar drills just don't click anymore, and the vocabulary lists seem to go on forever. You're putting in the work, but you're not seeing the progress. But here's the thing. What if the problem isn't you? The source material uses this great analogy of sailing. It feels exactly like that, like you're just going in circles, lost at sea with no land in sight. But what if the problem isn't how hard you're paddling? What if the map you've been using is just wrong? That's the real question we need to dig into. To get to the bottom of this, we have to look at the work of a linguist named Stephen Krashen. His ideas are a total game changer. He argued that for years, we've been mixing up two totally different things when it comes to language. And understanding this difference, well, it's the key to everything. Okay, so here's the big split. On one hand, you have learning. That's the stuff we do in school, consciously memorizing grammar rules, studying for the test. But on the other hand, you have acquisition. This is totally subconscious. It's how you learned to speak your first language. You didn't study books, right? You just picked it up. You got a feel for what sounds right. And this model shows exactly how those two things work, or don't work, together. Your acquired knowledge is the engine. It's your gut feeling, the thing that produces fast, natural speech. Your learned knowledge, that's just a little editor he calls the monitor. It's slow, it's conscious, it's trying to double-check the rules before you speak. And that's why you can know a rule by heart, but you still freeze up in a real conversation. Your poor little monitor just can't keep up. So, if acquisition is the real engine for fluency, how do we get it? How do we fuel it up? The answer is something Krashen called the single most important idea in all of language learning: comprehensible input. Now, comprehensible input sounds kind of academic, I know, but the idea is actually super simple. It's just any English you hear or read that you can mostly understand, but it has a few things in it that are just a little bit past your current level. He calls it I+1. You're not studying that new stuff. You're just focused on understanding the message, and your brain does the rest. It just absorbs the new structures on its own. And this, right here, is the big secret. This flips traditional language class completely upside down. The old way says you learn the rules, then you try to speak. This says, nope. You just focus on understanding the meaning of what you're hearing and reading, and as a result, the grammar just takes care of itself. And you know what the best part is? Getting this input is actually supposed to be fun. This isn't about boring drills. It's about watching that Netflix show you've been meaning to binge, following YouTubers who talk about your hobbies, listening to your favorite music and looking up the lyrics, or just getting lost in a good book. It's about making English a part of your life in a way you actually enjoy. But hold on, there's one more crucial piece to this puzzle. You can be surrounded by the most perfect, comprehensible input in the world, but if your brain isn't in the right state to receive it, it's all for nothing. We've got to talk about the psychology of it all. Krashen calls this the affective filter. Just picture a wall inside your head. When you feel stressed or anxious or worried about making a mistake, all those feelings you get in a typical language class, that wall goes up. And even if the input is perfect, it gets blocked. It literally cannot get to the part of your brain that acquires language. So the big question is, how do we lower that wall? Well, here are two really powerful ways, especially for beginners. First, respect the silent period. Don't force yourself or anyone else to speak before they're ready. That's a huge source of anxiety. Just listen, absorb. Second, use methods like total physical response, or TPR. This is where you connect words to actions. A teacher says stand up, and you stand up. It builds that deep understanding without any of the pressure to talk. And if you're wondering if this low-stress approach actually works, oh, it works. Get this. One study found that students using TPR for just 32 hours, they progressed nearly 5 times faster in listening comprehension than students in a normal 150-hour college course. I mean, come on. 5 times faster. That's the power of learning without stress. So let's bring it all home. It's time to throw out that old, frustrating map that had us sailing in circles and draw a new one that's actually based on how our brains are wired to learn. Here it is, side by side, the traditional plan on the left. It's all about grammar rules, stressful drills, conscious memorization. It leaves you feeling anxious.
The new plan, the acquisition plan, is all about focusing on meaning, finding fun input, and letting the grammar happen naturally. It's about feeling relaxed and engaged. And that, right there, is where the magic happens.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. For so long, we've all been told that the way to learn English is just to try harder. More drills, more lists, more work. But what if the key isn't trying harder at all? What if it's about understanding better? What if the secret is to finally start working with our brains instead of constantly fighting against them?